Welcome to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Chapter 161 Demon Empire. 6/7. So, at such a moment, the entire battle situation began to change. The stern fleet resisted the pressure head-on, and the battleships basically sank, and the small boats that sent out the boarding battle were also smashed and collapsed by the light and heavy firepower on the battleships at close range, and they were basically wiped out. Seeing that the situation is not good, the fleets of the Heart and Landline tribes have already begun to retreat. Your Majesty, they are retreating. Rotes excitedly spoke to Yuan on the bridge. Looking around, there is a piece of smoke and wreckage on the sea in front of you. And behind the wreckage, on the left and right sides, there are still hundreds of fleets of the two races, and they are evacuating. Yuan stood up from the chair, raised the corners of his mouth, and gave an order: pursue. Order the submarine force, follow them closely. Your Majesty has ordered that the whole army attack. All the battleships received the signal, and they began to turn around and sail towards the demon portal. The underwater submarine force is closely following the enemy's remnant fleet. My lord, human beings are chasing after us. On the hundreds of remaining warships in the Heart fleet, all the Heart sailors panicked. Humans are catching up. They will definitely be overtaken by humans. The stern fleet has been wiped out, and even Prince Zell is dead. Could it be their turn next? Immediately, panic spread among the Heart fleet. Human beings simply don't have to save their feet. We evacuate, and they still refuse to let us go. You must know that we still have hundreds of warships. Immediately, a demon officer spoke angrily beside Hazes. Yes, Master Hazes, let's fight humans. We still have the strength to fight. Fight to the death with them. Quite a few Heart officers spoke in a passionate manner. Shut up. Hazes held a box in his arms, and he roared with a gloomy face. Immediately, all the Heart officers were silent, not daring to speak. They all knew that Prince Hazes probably had no intention of fighting. Hazes is a cautious person, and once there is any hatred, he will not be overwhelmed by anger, but choose to compare the strengths of the two sides. Once he is not sure of completely defeating the human fleet at this moment, then he will not make a move. It was the same this time. Even though his big brother Harus died, he was very sad and angry, but these sorrows also made him calm down. Even killed two princes. The human fleet is too powerful, and this fact is deeply imprinted in Hazes' heart. At this moment, although the fleets of the Hut and Landline tribes still have half of the warships, if they want to fight against the 20 warships of humans, the odds are great. And under the sea, there are still unknown warships that humans can sail underwater. For those unknown and never before seen underwater warships, Hazes has a touch of hatred and fear in his heart. His big brother, Prince Harus, died in the hands of the underwater battleship. He can't be impulsive. If he dies again, it will really be over. Despite the great sadness and anger in his heart, Hazes forced himself to calm down. After the way will explain the situation to the Heart Demon King, and the Heart Demon King will conquer it himself. When the time comes, defeating these humans will be completely within reach. Patience, wait. Now just be patient, and wait. Hazes closed his eyes, holding the box in his hand tightly with both hands, his body trembling. Obviously, he is trying his best to suppress the emotions in his heart, so as not to let them affect his reason. Calm down, Hazes. If you are overwhelmed by anger, what is the difference between you and those simple monsters who have lost all their sanity and are polluted by evil spirits on the frontier of the demon realm? Hazes kept admonishing himself in his heart. The fleets of the two races kept thinking about evacuating from the demon portal. And the warships of the Ross Empire, and the underwater submarines, followed like this, firing 2 shots from time to time, occasionally destroying a few demon warships to hear the sound. There is no need to destroy them all. As long as the fleet controls the demon portal and stands on the demon portal, the troopships of the Ross Empire will pass through the demon portal in a steady stream, and continue to transport troops to the demon land. On the sea, a small boat anchored on the Heart warship was rescued by the Heart sailors. Some of the surviving demon sailors of the Striss. They retreated, and Sheng Yu escaped from the extremely terrifying firepower net. Friends, let's go. Several demon sailors from the Hut tribe rescued the soldiers from the Sturk tribe on board. Those humans are demons, they are demons. And those few stir soldiers were lying on the deck, trembling all over, screaming constantly in their mouths. Bang. A Hut sailor accidentally dropped a wine barrel on deck with a loud bang. But he didn't expect that after the sound of shock, the soldiers of the Stet tribe suddenly howled miserably. Those humans, are those humans still humans? There are such terrible weapons. But at this moment, it suddenly turned around. Humans slaughtered them like crushing ants. Unlike the forbidden spell of the Star Saint, the forbidden spell of the Star Saint destroys everyone in an instant, and they will not suffer much pain, but it is different here. Machine guns, every loud sound, accompanied by one of his companions being beaten by Liao Nuo into a pile of minced meat. They like to kill, but when the killing comes to them, they are like the weakest lambs, unable to resist. When have they seen such a scene? When have they never experienced such a thing forever? The hard officers next to them all looked at the collapsed and howling Stet sailors with extremely complicated expressions. What did they go through to turn from a strong and confident warrior to a trembling coward who would fear the slightest sound? Unknowingly, those hard officers felt a trace of fear. They looked at the Ross Empire fleet chasing after their own fleet in the distance. Huge battleship with terrifying naval guns on it. Devil. No. Maybe these humans are the devils. And what they are facing is an even more devil than them, the human empire. Chapter 162 Occupying the Demon Portal, 7/7. P.S. Chapter 7, today's update is over. Accompanied by the escape of the surviving sailors of the Stet tribe, their mental state collapsed, and they trembled when they heard a loud noise. In addition, once someone asks them what happened on the frontal battlefield, they will fall into a huge panic, and they will be unable to say anything in fear. Under such circumstances, fear seems to spread from the sailors of the Stet tribe to everyone. What happened on the frontal battlefield? Why do mighty warriors turn into frightened weak lambs? All the Huts, strictly felt a deep fear from their hearts. Soon, rumors about the Ross Empire, the real demon empire, began to spread among the demon fleet. However, Yuan didn't know about it yet. If he knew that his empire was called the Demon Empire by the demons, one could imagine how confused Yuan was. Under the pursuit of the Ross Empire, they scrambled to escape. When a hard warship returned to the demon portal, there were dozens of warships they left behind guarding the demon portal. Are they back at 717? The battleship was moored, and there were many sailors on the deck curiously looking at the huge battleship that came back as if fleeing. Did they succeed? No, it's only half a day, so fast. There are several warships of the Stet tribe, and the sailors on them are all whispering. Human beings are vulnerable, so what's wrong with coming back sooner? You have a point. While they were talking, warships passed quickly in front of them. Hey friend, how many humans did you kill? A left-behind stern navy shouted loudly to a Hut sailor on the deck of the battleship. That's right, how much money have you made? They all laughed and asked loudly. They had expected the same laughing reply. But unexpectedly, the hard sailors on those battleships silently glanced at them, AJCA, with a trace of fear flashing in their eyes. What happened? The Steer Navy guards at the Devil's Portal were stunned and looked at each other in blank dismay. It wasn't like this before. Soon, a fleet of hundreds of ships began passing through the demonic portal. Even the last few warships passed through the portal as if fleeing. Oh, why didn't you see our own fleet? Yeah, where did they go? Why didn't they come back together? The sailors on the Stet battleship stationed in the portal were all puzzled for a while. The warships of the three races have different shapes, and the warships of their own race can be seen at a glance. Why haven't they seen even one of their warships now? It should be staying in the human land. A Stetman sailor said speculatively. Yeah, with Prince Zell here, what can happen? It must have stayed in the human land after defeating the human race. The other Stet sailors all laughed. Quick, there is no one of our own behind. Close the door. At this time, the last demon warship passed through the portal, and the demon sailors on it roared loudly and anxiously at the dozen or so Stuart warships stationed behind the gate. What? Close the door. This, how to close it? If you want to close the portal, there must be a prince. Prince Zell is still in the human world. The Stet sailors were all dumbfounded. They looked at each other and shouted at the Heart sailor on the last demon battleship. Prince Zell is dead. The Hutt sailors cried out in panic. What? Prince Zell is dead? Impossible, I don't believe it. Good, why are you lying to us? All of a sudden, all the sailors of the Stet tribe were furious. They stood on their warships and shouted loudly. How could it be possible, just relying on human beings, how could it be possible to kill the mighty Prince Zell? Just kidding, if you want to scare us, you have to find a better reason. HMPH, he might as well say that they have already lost, and humans have already chased them. A few steer sailors said disdainfully. But the next moment, they all stared wide-eyed, looking at the demon portal in horror. I saw silver warships passing slowly between the dark demon portals. The battleship is so huge, fully 3 times the size of their current battleship. On the more than 10 battleships left behind, the sailors of the Mingster tribe all stared wide-eyed, looking in horror at the silver-white battleships passing by one after another. Humans, how can humans chase so fast? Quickly speed up, speed up. Immediately, the sailors on the demon battleship that passed just now howled miserably. They wanted to continue to accelerate, but the magic power engine had reached the overload. Finally, with a sound of boom, the magic power engine on the battleship exploded. Humanity. Human, battleship. The left-behind steer sailors were all stunned, staring blankly at the battalion of silver battleships that kept passing through the demon portal. Such a huge battleship is a human battleship. The guns on the first battleship began to turn, aiming at them at anchor. The demon portal belongs to our great Lost Empire. The captain of the battleship had a full smile on his face. The next moment, the roar of artillery fire sounded again. Chapter 163 Eliminated Equipment. 1/7. P.S. The first update, and the 6th update. Boom, boom. The 355mm naval guns were continuously fired, and the battleships of the Stet tribe that were close at hand were destroyed instantly. Countless screaming Stet sailors on the battleship fell into the water, struggling in the blood-red sea. Humanity. How could humans chase here? Fight back, fight back. Ah, help me. Countless sailors of the Stet tribe died on the spot in a series of explosions on the battleship. They screamed and roared loudly, but under the raging fire of the 3 battleships that came in first, they failed to make any resistance. The 3 battleships of the Ross Empire began to divide towards the 2 sides. They were 190 meters long, and the 3 battleships quickly covered the handle of the demon portal, which was hundreds of meters wide. And the subsequent battleships of the Ross Empire are passing through this demon portal one after another. Finally, all 20 Ross Empire battleships entered the portal and entered the demon's native world. TCH, is this the devil's native world? Really, it's ugly enough. On a battleship, Rhodes was wearing a black army uniform and a big brimmed hat with a red dragon badge, and covered his mouth and nose with a handkerchief with a hand in white gloves. Eyes are full of dislike for this sea area. As for Gu Yuan, he had already left first. He is the emperor of the Ross Empire, and he can do such things by himself, and he can do it occasionally. After all, this is the first large-scale battle of the Ross Empire naval fleet. As the emperor of the Ross Empire, he naturally wants to see the strength comparison between the Imperial Navy and the Demon Navy for himself. Gu Yuan also took complete protection. In fact, Gu Yuan originally wanted to enter the demon's native world to take a look, but news came from China. Demons also appeared in the Central Territory, Eastern Territory, and Northern Territory. And the offensive of the demons in the Central region is very fierce, and the Central Magic Empire in the Central region is almost unable to hold on. After all, without using the power of the Saints of the Stars, the Central Magic Empire in the Central region could not do anything to the demon army that invaded the Central region. And there is another reason for Gu Yuan to return to China. That is, the people in the scientific research department have developed a new result, an item created by combining magic and technology, and there has been a major breakthrough. The Devil's Portal is temporarily in the hands of the Navy fleet, and the 18 battleships of the Navy's Second Fleet are being urgently built in several ports newly built by the Nelos Empire this year. I'm sure it won't be long before we can go into the water. The current Ross Empire, under the industrial conditions laid by the Gu Yuan system, has laid a relatively stable industrial foundation in the past year. From now on, Gu Yuan can really say that tanks, planes, and battleships are coming out like dumplings. However, the highest level of military technology, the Ruth Empire barely reached the level of the 1960s and 1970s. As for Minsheng science and technology, under the offensive of massive popular support, Yuan successfully brought the living standards of the domestic people back to the 1980s and 1990s, the period of the Cold War between the two major hegemonies on Earth. It can be said that the current Ross Empire is somewhat deformed, because the living standards of the domestic people have reached the 1980s and 1990s, but the Navy is still using battleships from World War I. Other Army weapons and equipment, tanks and armored vehicles, were still in World War II. However, there is no way to do this. After all, the development of the Ross Empire is short, and the warships are the most time-consuming to manufacture, and more than 20 ships are built in a year. As for individual weapons, AKM has been fully equipped with the Army. The 98K that was eliminated was equipped to the domestic border patrol troops. The Central Magic Empire in the Central Region. In a ruined city that was destroyed. Several Tauran demons of the Tilan tribe wore pitch-black battle armor, waved the prisoners of war in their hands, and were about to slaughter several prisoners of war of the Central Magic Empire. In the shadows, several knights wearing armor and holding 98K in their hands were hiding. Damn it, it's Satu, he's going to be killed. A knight leaned his head over to watch, and saw the scene over there. They are the remnants of the demon squad, the demon army has gone, we can save Seertu. Another knight whispered, then let's get ready to act. Several knights nodded with their heads in face helmets. They pulled the bolt of the 98K gun and checked the bullets inside. 0. Ask for flowers. Holding 98K in his arms, a knight said very self-deprecatingly, I used to look down on the Ross Empire, but now, we have to rely on the weapons they support to survive. It seems that this world is really about to be destroyed by the Ross Empire. That group of people changed. Don't tell me, the weapons of the Ross Empire are really easy to use. They are much easier to use than the rifles we made ourselves. A rifle made by our own Ministry of Magic Industry. Come on, Bar was injured by the blasted rifle because he used a magic rifle made by the Ministry of Magic Industry the day before yesterday, and he is still recuperating in the camp. Hey, those idiots from the Ministry of Magic Industry, just obediently bought the weapons of the Ross Empire, and made them themselves, but they didn't make any achievements, but the weapons exploded and injured many of our own people. Several knights held 98K in their hands, and they whispered to each other while aiming at the group of bull-headed demons in the open field. 98K has been eliminated by the army of the Ross Empire. They replaced it with AKM, but there are still a large number of 98K weapons in stock in the country, because the priority of 98K weapon secrecy has been lowered a lot, and other magic empires will study it sooner or later. Produced 98K level magic rifles, so Yuan simply sold 98K to the Central Magic Empire. Be a good friend. It can not only clear the inventory, but also sell it for money, and can further gain the friendship of the Central Magic Empire. Yuan also knew that a 98K rifle could not be kept secret forever, and that sooner or later the Central Magic Empire would produce a weapon similar to the 98K. However, as long as there is a generation gap between the weapons and equipment of the Ross Empire and the Central Magic Empire. Boom, boom. 5 gunshots sounded at the same time, and the 5 bull-headed demons who were sharpening their knives rushed to the ground at the same time, and the bullets directly penetrated their heads. Killed to death. Go, go, Seertu, and the others to save them. The knights wore armor and held 98K in their hands. They nodded excitedly and rushed out immediately to rescue the knight prisoners from the soil. Chapter 164 Knights, times have changed 2/7. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. P.S. There are still 5 chapters. Speaking of the current Ross Empire, that is the real rich, gathering the wealth of the whole continent. The entire continent has been impacted by the culture, industrial strength, and commodity dumping of the Ross Empire. The Ross Empire is like a factory that continuously produces items, and then sells countless industrially manufactured goods, clothes, furniture, building materials, iron utensils, etc., to the entire continent. Besides the Ross Empire, it can be said that the entire continent is the dumping ground of the Ross Empire. Raw materials are bought in other countries at low prices, and then they go to the Ross Empire to manufacture finished products, which are doubled and sold to other countries. The current magic empires are a bit like the late Qing dynasty in the previous life. Some people are self-styled, but in fact their country has long been opened by countless products of the Ross Empire. The nationals of the country are receiving the impact of the 593 advanced industrial culture and commodities of the Ross Empire. There were also more people who were assimilated. And this is officially part of Gu Yuan's grand strategy. Ever since the demons showed signs of invading, Gu Yuan was no longer inclined to conquer the entire continent by force. The methods were too rough, and they might not win all the hearts of the people. Gu Yuan's plan will allow the Loth Empire to influence the entire Laurelland continent step by step. Until the end, they were all assimilated into citizens of the Ross Empire. Now it can be said that in this short period of 1 year, the Ross Empire has achieved something that no country has been able to do in 10,000 years. One country controls the economic lifeline of the entire continent. If the Ross Empire collapses, the economic market of the entire continent will be the first to be impacted. Now the Ross Empire is closely related to countless people in the mainland. If the king of a country wants to attack the Ross Empire, the first ones to oppose it are not others but their own citizens. The furniture they use, the clothes they wear, and even the toys they play with are all produced in the Ross Empire. And Gu Yuan doesn't need to send troops at all, he only needs to manipulate the economy and play a little bit of tricks to bankrupt the king of that country. And that's why Gu Yuan is so assured that he will sell 98k, because Gu Yuan knows that even if other countries own these things, it is impossible to point their guns at the Ross Empire, especially in such a demon-invaded country. Case. At this point, Gu Yuan has really stood on the commanding heights, holding the economic lifeline of 80% of the countries in the mainland. In the final analysis, it was also the reason why the Laurelland continent was not that big. Therefore, during the time when Luan was developing in Luo Liland, Gu Yuan set his sights on the demon's portal. Subscribe to Chinese novel audio wave. Such a thing that can travel through world space. And now, Gu Yuan has preliminarily controlled a demon portal, but how to use it is still unknown. We have to wait for further research by the Scientific Research Department to understand. This process may be very long, but the source of the tongue is not in a hurry. This year, he is only 23 years old. Not to mention that with all kinds of magical means to extend his life, Gu Yuan can live for at least hundreds of years. Even with breakthroughs in research on magic and human genes, Gu Yuan can live for more than 1,000 years. Under the leadership of Gu Yuan, the only supreme emperor, the Ross Empire will truly reach its peak. Situ, are you all right? Several knights rushed out immediately, and cut the ropes tied to the knight prisoners of war with the long swords around their waists. It's okay, sick, we're okay, you guys are here. The few knights were panting heavily, talking in a panic. Let's go, there will be other demon squads here soon. Several knights wore armor and barrel helmets, hand platoon 98k, and left here covering each other. Their troops were defeated by the regular demon army, and they independently formed teams one by one, wandering and resisting in the ruins of human towns and cities. That's right, they are the guerrillas of another world. Wearing armor and holding 98k in their hands, the remaining knights of the Central Magic Empire formed guerrillas one after another. No matter how you look at it, it is a combination of ancient and modern times. Gu Yuan sold them 98k with the intention of letting them resist for a while and helping the Ross Empire resist some pressure. Humans. There are still humans alive. Suddenly, a team of bull-headed demons rushed out of the corner not far away. They roared in a language that the knights could not understand, and rushed over while waving their battle axes. Damn, we've been found. 5 knights helped others to go first, and 2 knights stayed behind. Go to hell, you bloody demons. SK was lying behind a bunker wearing armor, raised the 98k in his hand, and shot at those bull-headed demons. Bang, bang, bang. After firing a few shots, the broken knight on the other side pulled the 98k bolt and made a crisp sound. Damn it, SK, I'm out of bullets, do you have any more? The knight touched the bullet belt at his waist, there was no bullet in it, and he looked anxiously at Skoway. I still have. SK had 2 bullet belts hanging around his waist, and he untied one and threw it at the knight. The attacks of humans stopped. Go. At this time, the bull-headed demons who were hiding in the wreckage of the building because of the 98K attack poked their heads out, and when they found that the attack had stopped, they rushed out immediately. Damn, you bastards. The knight on the other side loaded the 98K bullet, pulled the bolt, and continued to shoot. When the gunshot rang, the last tall bull-headed demon fell under the 98K gunshot. Look, these dozen demons, if we had to kill a dozen demons in the past, we might have to pay the price of 20 Knight brothers. SK was wearing rune armor, holding 98K in his arms, looking at the corpses of a dozen demons strewn all over the street ahead, he said with a wry smile. A year ago, he was a diehard in the Magic Empire and looked down on the Ross Empire, but he didn't expect that only 1 year later, he would have to rely on the weapons of the Ross Empire to survive. Ironic. Yeah, 3.9, this is just a weapon eliminated by the Ross Empire, it's that strong. If it's what they use now, how strong would it be? Knight, times have changed. I even began to feel that the Ross Empire is the hope of the entire continent. We are retreating steadily in the face of demons, but I heard that the Ross Empire defeated the powerful demons very easily on the sea. Perhaps, the Ross Empire is the real hope of mankind. We knights and magicians, I am afraid that we should be eliminated by the tide of the times. Another knight took off the barrel helmet on his head, and took out a pack of cigarettes also produced in the Ross Empire, from his arms. He held 98K in his arms with one hand, and took out a box of matches with the other hand, putting it on the ground, struck a match on a nearby stone, lit the cigarette in his mouth, he took a deep puff, exhaled a puff of smoke, and then said with a sigh. Chapter 165 The product of the combination of technology and magic 3/7. Question mark. P.S. The third update, and the fourth update. A year ago, the long sword on his waist and the shield on his back were his life and everything to him. But now, the knight wants to say that there is one more thing in his life, and that is the 98K produced by the Ross Empire. This is his life, his lover's weapon. Ski and the knight quickly caught up with the retreating knights, and they returned to the secret hiding place together. There are about 200 people here, 40 or 50 of them are knights in the army, and the others are civilians rescued by knights. Knights wear rune-enchanted armor and hold 98K in their hands. They all cherish the 98K in their hands very much, and weapons are the lovers of knights. The knights who used swords and shields in the past have fallen in love with 98K. Well, this is really an unethical love. At this moment, a Tongtian's jet black beam of light suddenly appeared in the distance, as if connecting heaven and earth. Countless gusts of wind rolled up, and the strong wind blew. What happened? The people in the camp looked at the Tongtian black beam of light that appeared in the distant sky in astonishment. The pitch-black beam of light seemed to reach Tongtian, and even automatically rolled up an incomparably huge tornado around it. Soon, the strong wind rolled up, and the tornado covered the huge black column. The night guerrillas in the camp could see that the beam of light was far away from them, but even here, they could feel the strong wind blowing by the minister. How scary is that? In the distance, under a pitch-black beam of light, in the eye of the tornado, there is an elite demon troop waiting here. It is the demons of the Turan family. Headed by a 3-meter-tall bull-headed demon. TCH, the damn Middle Demon Kingdom knows how to take the fruits of our victory. A great demon with an octopus head snorted and murmured. Okay, stop talking, where is His Excellency the Prince? A bull-headed demon next to him poked the octopus-headed demon and whispered. The Tauran prince stood on the ground with a gloomy expression, wearing thick black armor. And in front of them, a group of 3-meter-tall humanoid demons wearing incomparably exquisite thick armor walked out of the huge Tongtian black pillar. The Emperor is here. The demon guards formed neatly, and every move was like the same person. They shouted in unison. The rest bowed down. There was another shout, and the leader of the Telan tribe, the Niatu prince, knelt down on one knee. The other demons also quickly knelt on the ground. Congratulations to the third emperor. Prince Niatu shouted respectfully. Under his leadership, even though the other demons were unwilling, they could only shout along. Congratulations to the third emperor. Accompanied by bursts of shouts like the tide, the Tongtian magic orange began to dissipate. The huge tornado that rolled up around also gradually subsided. After the wind and clouds passed, only one person stayed in the sky. He was wearing exquisite black armor, and the 3 long horns on the top of his head were exposed from the crown, which added a bit of embellishment to his crown. The red cloak fluttered in the wind, and he stood in the void. The third Devil Emperor. The Devil's Land is the place where countless demon groups live, and in the middle, there is an intermediate demon country. They occupy the most fertile land in the entire demon land, and they are also the only land where sunlight can penetrate through the thick gray clouds that cover the sky all the time, and the only land that can be illuminated by the sun. The Middle Demon Kingdom does not have a huge army. In fact, the real Middle Demon Kingdom has only 3 people. Yes, 3 demons. First Devil Emperor, second Devil Emperor, third Emperor. For the rest, it's just their demon guard, and then there are no other demons. Why are they able to occupy the richest piece of land in the entire demon continent? That is, they are strong enough. The 3 of them are the most powerful. Among the demons, there are no demons of the Star Saint level, but the 3 demon emperors in the Middle Demon Country are more powerful than the Star Saints. They can release forbidden magic level magic from a long distance. This means that they will not be able to use suicide-style forbidden spell attacks like the Star Saints. Because they are the most powerful among the demons, they can occupy the most fertile land. However, the 3 of them have always been cautious. They have never participated in the invasion of the Roarland continent for thousands of years. They said they were sitting in the township. In fact, they were also afraid that the Star Saints would carry out a suicide attack on them with forbidden spells. Why did you come this time? This is also 393 where the Talon tribe's Tauren prince is puzzled. Prince, just now I received a letter from my family, saying that the evil spirits on the border of the demon realm have polluted the demon realm in the middle. At this time, a Talon demon whispered to the Tauren prince. What? The evil spirit has already polluted the Middle Demon Country. Why is it so fast? Isn't it said that it will take at least 10 years to arrive? Niatu kissed Wang Meng with his eyes wide open, and said in disbelief. I don't know what happened, the speed of pollution has accelerated, and in a few decades, I'm afraid the whole land will be gone. It turned out to be like this. No wonder the third Devil Emperor will come to the Laurelland continent in person this time. I'm afraid they are in a hurry to move. After all, even the Devil Emperor will be polluted by evil spirits and become an irrational monster. Tisk tisk, a monster at the level of a Devil Emperor is scary just thinking about it. However, with the Devil Emperor coming in person, the lives of the people in Laurelland continent are at the end of their lives. The Tauren prince murmured in a low voice. At the same time, Yuan, the scientific research department of the Ross Empire, had just returned here, and came to the testing ground of the Scientific Research Department to check the so-called combination of magic and technology. Chapter 166 Black Technology, the First Machine 4/7. P.S. The 4th update, there are 3 more. Your Majesty, please come this way. Ross Empire Research Department. Yuan came here under the leadership of a scientific researcher. Behind Yuan was the Emperor's Guard composed of 10 great knights. They are wearing black army uniforms, but there are golden patterns on the cuffs and collars, which means that they are different from ordinary soldiers. These great knights have all undergone strict Shinao education and are selected extremely harshly, and they are more likely to be selected if they come from mortal families. The captain of Yuan's Imperial Guard was the commander of the Great Knight who surrendered to the Ross Empire with 2 million troops, heir of the Han dynasty. In addition to the large Knight Guard, Yuan also has a Knight Guard composed entirely of knights. Compared with the 10 people of the Big Knights, they have a total of 2,000 people. The selection method is the same as above, and they are all the most loyal people. The captain is a knight named Hans. I don't know if Hans and Hansi are related by blood. When Yuan knew about it, he thought about it a little bit, but it's a pity that they only have similar names. Hans appeared in chapter 113, friends who forgot can check it out. On the way to the scientific research test site, Yuan checked the system. Before looking at the combination of magic and technology, let's look at the benefits of the system. After 2 naval battles, Tongyuan's system benefits are as follows. Prince Brad, Prince Zell, and Prince Haru's 300,000. Great warriors of the Stet, heart, and landline tribes 6,430 people 3,215,000. Lind flying troops 13,560 40.68 million. Lind, Stet, Heart, and landline standard warships 896 8.96 million. Lind, Stir, Heart, and Dangxian ordinary soldiers 168,374 100,200 miles away. Total killing value 17,568,610. Get 5-star lucky draw twice. Now there are 5 lottery draws in total, killing value 17,575,362. More than 17 million killing points, and 5 lottery draws. With a smile on his face, Yuan walked towards the scientific research testing ground with his hands behind his back. The system Mall these few times has not refreshed any good things, and it is basically useless to the current Ross Empire. The popularity of the Ross Empire has grown to hundreds of millions. Using these popular sentiment values, Genichi brought people's livelihood technology from World War II to the 1980s and 1990s in the previous life. As for military technology, it has the foundation of people's livelihood technology. Even if Yuan doesn't buy it himself, he will develop it independently. So what is really useful to Yuan now is some equipment that the Ross Empire did not have. It can be truly formed and can be made into the Cold War era equipment of the 2 hegemonies of the previous life of the Earth. This is also the goal of Yuan's industrial technology development in the next stage. As for magic technology, because there are, Your Majesty, you are fine. A very special way of punctuating sentences sounded, with a charming voice. Tian Luan appeared in front of Yuan wearing a white scientific research uniform. The long purple hair was loosely scattered, and there was a gold-patterned faceless mask on his face. Even a slightly loose scientific research uniform did not stop her outward charm. That's right, on the side of magic technology, because of the existence of Tianluan, a star saint, and the existence of a group of sky mage-level magicians brought by her, breakthroughs are constantly being made. Sometimes, what technology cannot do, magic can do against common sense, and what magic cannot do, technology can easily do. Therefore, the combination of the two can often produce unexpected results. Officially coming to the scientific research laboratory, Yuan met a big guy here. Your Majesty, please look, this is our new product. Yuan opened his eyes wide and looked at the 10-meter tall guy in front of him. The whole body is full of metal texture, black smoke is emitting from the 2 small chimneys on the back, the overall shape is human, but the hands are equipped with various weapons and equipment, the left shoulder and the right shoulder can sit on people, each has a machine gun and artillery positions. There is a 20mm machine gun and an 85mm tank main gun on the left and right shoulders. The chest is the driving seat, and there is a cluster rocket launching slot on the left and right sides of the waist. With 4 legs, it is supported on the ground like a spider, and tires can be extended from the bottom of the feet. It can be said that this thing is full of the steampunk feeling that Yuan saw on the Earth in his previous life. This humanoid mecha is the first version of mecha we have researched, and it is powered by the Liu magic steam engine. A scientific researcher next to him introduced. Magic steam engine. Yuan frowned thinking about the meaning of the word. Yes, Your Majesty, just as you imagined, with the help of the Tianluan saint, we successfully combined the magic power with the steam engine, and then created this first-generation machine. 11. 12 meters high, powered by a magic steam engine, equipped with 2 85mm main guns, 2 20mm large-caliber cannons, and 2 cluster rocket launch slots, which can fire 40 rockets. The quadrupeds allow it to stand firmly on the ground, and the tires extending from the feet allow it to reach a speed of 45 km per hour. This is our newly researched machine No. 1. Chapter 167 L1 Magic Armor 5/7. P.S. The 5th update, there are 2 more. How about the practicality and cost performance of this weapon? Yuan frowned as he looked at the 12-meter tall behemoth in front of him. Your Majesty, to be honest, the price-performance ratio of the first machine is not high. The scientific researcher looked sad, and he said, its combat level is higher than that of the T-34 tank, but the construction price is 5 times that of the T-34 tank. He's not worth the price. The scientific researcher shook his head beside him. 5 times the price of T-34. Yuan shook his head and said, "It's a pity, can it be improved?" "Yes, Your Majesty. Now our magic fuel engine is under development. Once the development is successful, the manufacturing cost will be very small, and the power intensity will be doubled. With new power machines, we can develop new types of weapons." The scientific researcher immediately showed a fanatical expression, which is the love for research and enthusiasm for science. "Your Majesty, we actually have a new product." At this time, another 203 researcher in a white coat came over and said to Yuan. "Another item." Yuan turned his head to look. "Yes, Your Majesty, another new product is different from this war machine, it is an individual combat weapon." The researchers came over with an atlas, handed it to Yuan respectfully, and said, "Your Majesty, this is the atlas we designed during this period, please have a look at it first." Yuan nodded, and reached out to take the album in his hand. The album is not thin, it has the thickness of a notebook. Turning to the first page, it is full of various design parts and various annotations. This is the case when drawing and designing an atlas. From the smallest part to the last part, it will be carefully designed, drawn, and then manufactured. Although it is only a piece of equipment for individual soldiers, there is a full album of designs for various parts and weapons. Yuan flipped through it a few times, then closed the album, handed it to the scientific researcher next to him, and said, "Take me to see the finished product." "Yes, Your Majesty, please come this way." The researchers led the way, and Yuan led his guards to another test site. Here, Yuan saw an object covered in steel. With a height of 3.5 meters, it presents a human figure, but it looks very bulky. "Please look, Your Majesty, this is the individual combat armor we created based on the magic power supply device as the prototype." The researcher introduced it to Yuan. This mecha can greatly enhance the combat capability of individual soldiers, and allow them to carry more loads and weapons. The thickness of the armor is 30 mm, which can withstand the shooting of rifles at close range, and even to a certain extent, can block the power of bazooka rockets. Listening to the introduction of the researchers, Yuan approached the armor. The height of the entire magic armor is about 3.5 meters, and it looks like a 3.5 meter tall person wearing airtight steel armor. It looks tall and bulky. The first impression given to people is that the strength is definitely strong enough, but the speed and flexibility are lacking. A 20mm dual-mounted cannon was mounted on the back, and the 2 barrels of the cannon were placed on the shoulders on both sides of the mecha. And there is a chainsaw sword hanging from his waist. There is also a special rifle in the humanoid steel hand. It looks as if the AK is doubled, and it is firmly held in the humanoid steel hands. "Your Majesty, please come here and have a look." The scientific researcher greeted the above, and a room on the second floor lit up. A group of people went to a room on the second floor, with a large piece of bulletproof glass as a wall, and they could also observe the dynamics of the test site. "Okay, Aja, ready to start." A researcher nodded. "Ready to start. Start." With an order, magic lines began to appear all over the body of the 3.5 meter high silver-white humanoid armor, and the boxes mounted on the left and right sides of the waist began to emit waves of magic power. Yuan watched carefully. You can still see the appearance of some magic attack devices, for example, the power boxes mounted on the left and right sides of the waist. Obviously it is the style of the magic power supply device. The entire mecha began to hum, and finally the footsteps suddenly began to slide in the test field. "It's like skating. We tentatively named it the L1 armor." "Your Majesty, the power of the L1 armor is limited. It can only reach 30 hours per kilometer, and energy consumption is also a problem. But the combat capability is very strong." The researchers said. At this moment, the 20mm twin-mounted cannons mounted on the mechs on the field fired. Bang bang bang. A series of loud noises sounded, and the bullets of the machine gun continued to escape, hitting the target in front of them. Tut chug chug. At this time, an automatic target equipped with an AK rifle appeared in front, and the bullets kept hitting the L1 armor, but the bullets hit the thick armor, but all of them were single shot. After that, The L1 armor suddenly skipped the target, and then turned around directly, holding a special rifle in its hand and firing instantly. Bullets continued to come out of the chamber, and the shell casings were flying in the air and falling backwards. One by one, the automatic target positions began to emit black smoke, and they were immediately scrapped. After the action, the L1 armor returned to its original position, the magic lines all over the body were still dim, and finally stopped the action. Yes, this one is better than the number 1 machine just now. It can greatly enhance the combat capability of a single soldier. Yuan clapped his hands and finally praised him once. Who was driving the armor just now? Yuan asked. Tanya, it's time to come out. The research staff bowed slightly to Yuan, then walked to the intercom and called out. The chest of the armor began to turn upwards, the armor opened, and an extremely petite figure jumped up from the 3-meter-high armor. After landing, his height was incomparably in contrast to the armor, the height of his unarmored legs. The height seems to be about 1.3 meters. Your Majesty, this is the squadron leader of the girls' mobile unit, Captain Tanya. The researchers said respectfully to Yuan. Tanya was wearing an exquisite black military uniform, and seeing Yuan moved a little on her cold face, she stood up straight and saluted Yuan. Trying hard to look serious, but she is too short. Chapter 168 Jinjing City. 6/7. P.S. The 6th update, and one more update. Half-orc. Now there are about 3 million half-orcs in the Ross Empire. Most of the youths among the half-orcs joined the army of the Ross Empire. Indifferent from ordinary people, there are many females among the half-orcs. Because of their adaptability to the magic power supply device, they were selected to join the girl mobile unit. Tanya. A girl who is not more than 1.3 meters tall is the squadron leader of the mobile unit and the rank of captain. Captain Tanya may be the shortest person in the entire army. She can proudly say that she has lowered the average height of the entire army by herself. Well, if anyone dares to say this in front of her, they will probably be hammered, and they still use their petite body of no more than 1.3 meters to lift the 2-meter-long L3920mm anti-magic rifle hammer. Seeing Tanya, a half-orc girl, Yuan was silent for a moment, and said, "This armor still has flaws." "Ah, yes, Your Majesty, there are some defects." The researchers nodded and said, "Because this kind of magic armor is based on the magic power supply device, only half-orc soldiers can drive it perfectly. As for ordinary soldiers, if they want to drive mechas, they have to undergo long-term training. During the training period, they have to continuously inject number 1 compound agent. Although we have mastered the method of making the number 1 compound agent only with the blood of the Great Knight, it took 3 months of training before we could let an ordinary soldier drive the armor." 11. The researchers said to Yuan. "What about the Big Knight? Have you conducted armor experiments on the Big Knight itself?" Yuan asked. "This, Your Majesty." The scientific researcher hesitated, and said, "Now the Great Knights in our country are only those who surrendered, and your guard. We don't trust those Big Knights enough. It's okay to draw blood from them regularly for research and make the number 1 compound, but it's not good to do experiments with this new type of armor weapon. And the Big Knights who can be trusted are yours guards." The researcher said hesitantly. In fact, he also thought about borrowing Yuan from the Grand Knight Guards to conduct armored driving experiments, but because of his respect and loyalty to Yuan, he felt that His Majesty had already done his best to meet his research needs, and he wanted to. In the end, he didn't dare to make this request to Yuan. "It doesn't matter. Heir of the Han Dynasty." Yuan stood with his hands behind his back and shouted back. "His Majesty." Among the Knight Guards, a tall and handsome guard officer stood up. "From now on, you will cooperate with Dr. Rhett's armored driving experiment." Yuan said. "Yes, Your Majesty." Han Si nodded without hesitation. "Your Majesty. Your Majesty really didn't expect that you would be willing to lend me the members of your guard. Dr. Reed really didn't expect that Yuan would actually hand over his personal guards to him. You must know that the Emperor's guards are always around the Emperor for safety. If there are fewer people, there may be mistakes, and even because of small mistakes, the life of the Emperor will be threatened. Therefore, the soldiers of the guard are extremely important. Out of loyalty to Ji Yuan, he did not make this request. But now, Ji Yuan would hand over a guard soldier to him. Dr. Reed knew what it meant, which meant Ji Yuan's unconditional trust in him. And this kind of trust also made Dr. Reed very moved. All his knowledge was cultivated in the Ross Empire with the constantly improving knowledge magic ball. Ji Yuan's status in his heart is undoubtedly higher than that of his parents. At this moment, Ji Yuan's actions moved him so much that he almost burst into tears. Dr. Reed finally held back, and he saluted Ji Yuan violently. Please rest assured, Your Majesty, we will definitely not disappoint your trust. We will continue to improve the magic armor, and we will reach the point where it can equip the entire army as soon as possible. After Ji Yuan left the scientific research department, he looked up at the sky. A clear patch of sky. 0. Magic armor is good, but its flaws are also obvious. Currently, it can only be used as a special force. I don't know when we want to equip the entire army on a large scale. Ji Yuan sighed. A stretched black car was parked at the door. Your Majesty, please get in the car. Princess Angelina is waiting for you at the Empire State Building. A guard soldier opened the car door and said respectfully to Tong Yuan. Angelina, what's the matter with her? Ji Yuan got into the car and asked casually. Angelina and Lena have now been officially canonized as concubines by Ji Yuan, but the position of queen is still vacant. And because of her own ambition, Carlo Lin is currently serving as an officer in the army. 0. Only Tianluan. Ji Yuan squinted at Tianluan, who was sitting next to him, and followed him into the car. Tianluan has not yet formally joined the Ross Empire, and is still a member of the Central Magic Empire. After arriving at the Empire State Building, Ji Yuan met Angelina in his study. Angelina was wearing a pure white skirt, revealing a section of white and smooth calf, with long golden hair hanging down her back, but her delicate face was stained with tears at the moment. 10 pairs of golden eyes were a little moist at the moment. As soon as she saw Ji Yuan, she immediately rushed forward, trembling gently in Ji Yuan's arms. The devil has already attacked the Central Territory. I am very worried about my parents. So that's the reason. Don't worry, the Empire's troops have already set off, and I believe they will arrive at Jinjing City soon. If you don't worry about them, you can move the entire Gold Essence City to the Ross Empire, and now the Gold Essence City has the weapons and equipment supported by the Empire, so how can something happen, as long as they defend it until the Imperial troops arrive? Ji Yuan hugged Angelina, patted her fragrant shoulder with his hand, and said softly. Really? Angelina looked up at Ji Yuan. It's true, the elves of Gold Essence City are your family members, how could I disagree with their relocation? Ji Yuan pinched Angelina's little face and said a few words. Chapter 169 The Old School and the New School of the Elves 7/7. P.S. The 7th update. Today's update is over. Central Domain, Elf Domain. Elves have always been synonymous with beauty. It is absolutely beautiful in terms of appearance, magic, environment and other aspects. Forest of Elves. This is an extremely huge forest, with countless elf tribes, large and small, and the main city of elves is located in this forest. There are tens of millions of elves living in the entire elf forest. They have nothing to do with the world, but at this moment, the arrival of the invasion of foreign enemies has broken their peaceful tranquility. Jinjingcheng. It is one of the main cities in the realm of elves, where more than 2 million elves live. The elves in Jinjing City are all blonde-haired and golden-eyed, belonging to one of several, 573, types of elves, and it is also the place where Angelina was born. The originally magnificent Jinjing City has become a bit dilapidated at this moment, and the tall city walls are also riddled with holes. The elves wore green armor, thin arrows hanging from their waists, and bows and arrows in their hands. The Ross Empire also provided them with a part of 98k as weapons. After all, according to Jinjingcheng, they are all Ji Yuan's in-laws. But the elves are very confident in the bows and arrows in their hands. Although 98k has high precision, elves are more accustomed to using bows and arrows. Every elf is a perfect archer, so except for some elf soldiers equipped with 98k, other elves still use bows and arrows. But it's okay, the first few groups that attacked Jinjing City were all small demon troops. After they caused some casualties, they found that Jinjing City could not be defeated without a large force, so they retreated. Although Jinjing City has suffered some damage, it is still in good condition. Facing the attack of a small army of demons, the elves in Jinjing City are more than enough, but if it is a large army of demons, they will not be able to resist. Jinjing City Palace. In the resplendent and magnificently decorated royal palace, King Jinjing and his concubine were standing in front of a table. There is a telegraph on the table, and an elf who has been trained as a telegraph operator in the Lost Empire is working in front of the telegraph. After a while, he put down the headphones on his head, and then started typing on the typewriter next to him. Soon, daily telegrams came in and out. Kings. The elf respectfully handed over the telegram in his hand to King Jinjing. Is it a telegram from the Loth Empire? Princess Jinjing next to her asked. She is beautiful, looks very similar to Angelina, just like an enlarged version of Angelina. Princess Jinjing is Angelina's mother. King Jinjing took the telegram, read it, and said, "It's from Angelina, but there are also words from the Emperor of the Ross Empire." "What did you say?" Princess Jinjing asked quickly. Angelina said that the Ross Empire has sent troops to the central region to drive out the demons. While they rescue the Central Magic Empire, they will come to our Golden City. The Emperor Yuan of the Ross Empire means that we will go with the army when the time comes. The whole city moved to the Ross Empire. King Jinjing looked at the telegram and said, "The whole city moved to the Lost Empire." Subscribe to Chinese novel audio wave. Princess Jinjing was taken aback. She immediately shook her head and said, "This is the homeland where our elves have lived for tens of thousands of years, how could we leave here?" "Father, Queen, I think it's good to go to the Ross Empire. There are so many delicious and interesting things in the Ross Empire. I like it very much." At this time Angelzel came in from the door. He was wearing a blue military uniform that imitated the military uniform of the Ross Empire, with long military boots on his feet and 10 military caps on his head. A pistol was hung on the belt around his waist, and he leaned on the door frame and said, "You, how old are you, and you still think about these things all day long, and don't do any business at all?" Seeing Angelzel, King Jinjing didn't even get angry, and reprimanded. "Why am I not doing business? Aren't I training new army units all day long?" Angelzel immediately retorted. The older generation of elves in Jinjing City have very stubborn ideas. They believe that bows and arrows are their foundation, and they cannot abandon bows and arrows. But a group of young elves headed by Angelzel who have been to the Ross Empire, and listened to them tell about the prosperity and advancement of the Ross Empire, are not opposed to the weapons from the Ross Empire. They think that bows and arrows have a short range and low power, and they are not as good as the 98K rifles sold to them by the Ross Empire. If you fall behind, you will abandon it. As a result, Angelzel formed a group of elf troops equipped with 98K and MP40 submachine guns. The number is not large, just 1,000 people, all of them are very young elf youths. I have to say that the elves are really good looking. If this group of troops didn't mention it, they would think it was some kind of male model group just by looking at it. The ideas in Jinjing City are naturally divided into two factions. The old and conservative diehards, and the emerging factions who accept the new things in the Ross Empire. The old and conservative diehards are mostly elves over 500 years old, while the emerging faction is many young elves headed by Elf Prince Angelzel. Needless to say, it is impossible for me to unify all of Jinjing City and move it to the Ross Empire. King Jinjing waved his hand and threw Angelzel out. Old and stubborn, with no idea of accepting new things. Angelzel was thrown out, and he muttered and returned to the station where he formed his troops. He has not lived in the palace for a long time. Outside the Forest of Elves. A mighty army of demons came here. Is this the Forest of Elves? Really, a beautiful environment. The leading demon took a deep breath of the fresh and clean air and said intoxicated. Chapter 170 Demon Dales. 1/7. P.S. The first update, and the 6th update. Such a beautiful environment, such a fertile land, will soon be ours, ha 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 ha. The leader of this demon troop, a great demon of the 3rd Demon Emperor's Guard, has endless greed in his eyes. This kind of land is even better than the Middle Demon country which occupies the most beautiful land in the Demon Land. The name of this demon is Dales, a great demon in the demon guard of the third demon emperor of the Middle Demon Country. It is said that this is the land of elves, Val's scales. Next to him, a big demon of the T-Lin tribe said flatteringly. Elves. Oh, you mean, those pretty little ones. Ha ha ha, no wonder, the land, forest, and everything here are so beautiful. Dales suddenly realized, he waved his hand and said, pass my order, no one is allowed to use the magic power of the fire department in the forest. This kind of forest is most suitable for the back garden of Lord Demon Emperor, and I also want to stay in such a beautiful environment for a while. It would be bad if O9 is burned. Dales bent down, picked a wild flower on the side of the road, put it in front of his nose, and took a deep breath. Under the fragrance of this flower, every pore on the dark skin seemed to be relaxed. He just felt refreshed. The corner of the mouth was raised, revealing a mouthful of sharp fangs. Let's go in. Dales raised his head slightly. As a result, the demon troop with a number of almost 30,000 people began to enter the forest of elves. By the way, Yuan, do you know the Ross Empire? After entering the forest of elves, Dales seemed to remember something, and asked the great demon of the Turan tribe next to him. The Ross Empire. I don't know, I just came to the human continent not long ago, so I don't know what the Ross Empire is, but before I came again, I also learned about the human kingdoms that have existed for tens of thousands of years in the Laurelland continent, Central Magic Empire, Magic Energy Empire, but it seems that there is no such country as the Ross Empire. Yuan thought for a while, then shook his head. It's ridiculous to say that some time ago, when I was idle and bored to play, when I burned down a human village, those cowardly humans dared to yell and threaten me in front of me. You said, isn't that ridiculous? Ha 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 ha. As Dales spoke, he laughed and patted Yuan on the shoulder while laughing. Hey, why are those humans threatening you, sir? They really don't know how to live or die. Yuan asked with a smirk. Ah, what did they mention at that time, the Ross Empire? I didn't care about it at the time. After all, people can do anything before they die, but then the more I thought about it, the more wrong it became. Dales waved his hand and continued. The more I think about it, the more I feel wrong. My lord, what's wrong? Yuan asked quickly. I thought later, you said, this is the central domain of the human continent, doesn't it belong to something, the Central Magic Empire? Yes, my lord, this is the territory of the Central Magic Empire. Before, I led the army and fought against the army of the Central Magic Empire with the prince. Although I won more and lost less, Tisk, the human magicians of the Central Magic Empire are still very difficult to deal with. As Yuan said, he came to his senses. He looked at Darth and suddenly realized, yes, this is the place of the Central Magic Empire, and those humans should also be the people of the Central Magic Empire. Why did they threaten you, my lord? When the time comes, instead of saying that the Magic Empire will avenge them, how about mentioning a country that we have never heard of? It can only explain one situation. That is, in the hearts of ordinary people of the Central Magic Empire, the so-called Ross Empire is stronger than the Central Magic Empire. Dales stroked his chin and said in a deep voice. Ha 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 ha, my lord, you are worrying too much. It's not like you haven't seen those human magicians, and their level is actually the same. Furthermore, there is Lord Demon Emperor standing behind you. No matter how strong the Ross Empire is, can it be stronger than the third Lord Demon Emperor? Yuan smiled and said flatteringly. Ha 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 ha, you are right. The third Devil Emperor is invincible. Even the first and second Devil Emperors are not as good as the third Devil. Dales laughed and patted Yuan on the shoulder. My lord, there is a city ahead. At this time, a demon scout ran over and said to Dales. Huh, a city of elves. Dales was shocked, with a ferocious smile on his face. Beautiful little ones, here we come. Jin Jingchun. Alarms sounded throughout the city. There are demons appearing. The demons are coming again. Everyone hastened to the city wall for 220 defenses. An elf in green armor with a thin sword hanging from his waist and a bow and arrow in his hand came to the top of the city wall. King Jin Jing wore a Baijin two-color armor, and he came to the top of the city in person. Looking intently, I saw densely packed demon soldiers walking out of the dense forest outside Jinjing City. One after another, they were in an open space outside Jinjing City. I'm afraid the number is 30,000. King Jinjing thought to himself. 30,000 demons, fortunately, there are 60,000 soldiers in our city. Several other elf officers were relieved. They have an advantage in force, and the city can be defended. No. Jin Jing Wang's eyes widened wildly, and he saw a demon wearing black armor standing on the top of a tree in the dense forest in the distance. 1835. King Jin Jing looked serious, and thought to himself, if he does it himself, then we may not be able to defend this city. But it is impossible for him to say these words clearly. He is the king of gold essence, the king of this elven city. If such dejected words come from his mouth, it will undoubtedly cause a great blow to morale. Chapter 171, Elves and Demons Offensive and Defensive Battle 2/7. P.S. The second update, and the fifth update. P.S. The author bought the Big Cousin 2, 108GB capacity, just downloaded it for more than 2 hours, and then played it all night. The picture quality is really bad. Is this the city of elves? It seems that there are quite a few elves in it. If this city is captured, will the third Devil Emperor reward me with these elves as pets? Dales laughed evilly, his mouth wide open, and his fangs were exposed, looking very ferocious. All troops, prepare to attack the city. There are a lot of elves here. When the city is captured, I will reward each of you with an elf woman, ha 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 ha. Dales stood at the top of the tree and yelled at all the troops. His voice was accompanied by bursts of laughter and spread throughout the area. Ha 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 ha, long live Lord Darth. Let's go, break through this elf city. Ha, I heard about the beauty of those elves when I was in the mainland. Unfortunately, the elves brought back before were all dark because of the pollution of the environment. These are the native elves of the human continent. Countless demon soldiers cheered, and they roared loudly, all of them in different shapes and hideous. What else did they say? I don't know, but it can be seen that they are going to attack. The elves on the city wall were all ready to fight, their expressions tense. Angazel. King Jinjing called out, Father. Angelzel walked over wearing a blue military uniform, and behind him were several officers from his new army of elves. Lead your new army, guard the north gate, and let me see if your new army can be used. King Jinjing said to Angelzel. Don't worry, Father. Angelzel nodded excitedly, and immediately left with his own people. Everyone, you are all high elves, don't be afraid of those ugly demons outside. This battle also let the humans of the Ross Empire know that our elves can withstand the attack of demons without their help. The King of Gold Essence shouted loudly, and the sound was transmitted through magic enough for every elf on the city wall to hear. Prepare the first round of arrows. Then prepare for the second round of bursting arrows. Bow. With an order, all the elves on the city wall immediately raised their bows and arrows. Under the city wall, the demons began to launch the first wave of attacks. Boom boom boom. The demon formation outside the city, the demons shrouded in black robes propped up pieces of magic formations. The magic circle shone with a dark red light, and soon, hundreds of scorching magma balls emitting terrifying heat were brewing on the magic circle. Call out! Call out! Countless sounds of piercing the air sounded, and the magic circle was activated, and magma balls with a diameter of half a meter dragged long tail flames in the air, drew a dense arc, and smashed towards the top of Jinjing City. Boom! Boom! Countless magma balls hit the city wall like rain, bursting instantly on the city wall, causing damage to the surrounding elves continuously. Ah! An elf warrior was directly hit by a magma ball, and the Emperor's magma burst on the city wall instantly. He was burned to death in an instant, and several elf warriors around him were severely burned. Come on! After the first round of magma balls fell, a lot of black smoke had already filled the city wall. Under the black smoke, countless demon soldiers began to charge towards the city wall. Before the densely packed demon soldiers approached the end of the city wall, bursts of dense and terrifying arrow rain fell from the city wall. Every bow and arrow is very precise, and the arrows in the throats or eyes of the demon soldiers fell to the ground. However, except for the demon who was hit by the arrow above the neck and died directly, the other demons were fine, because the armor on their bodies was strong, and most of the arrows that hit the chest were directly bounced away. Second round, explosive arrow. King Jin Jing personally commanded, he roared. Burst arrow. The fine magical ability to engrave rune magic on arrows is currently only available to elves in the Loreland continent. This can also be regarded as a unique talent of elves. They can engrave magic lines on the slender arrow shafts and even the arrows, inject magic power, and turn ordinary arrows into magic weapons. Other human magic countries may be able to enchant armor and long swords, but none of them can achieve the level of fine magic that elves can enchant arrow shafts. In contrast, the Ross Empire is also researching and enchanting bullets or shells, thereby further enhancing the power of bullets or shells. But now it is being studied, and the progress is not great. Even with the group of magicians brought by Tianluan, this research is almost at a standstill. Soon, the second round of dense arrows rained down from the city wall. The demons had already begun to climb the city wall with their bare hands. The tall, cliff-like walls are nothing to them, and they can climb up with bare hands without siege equipment. An arrow was shot on the shoulder of a demon. The demon ignored it and continued to climb up, but suddenly the arrow burst instantly, causing a lot of damage to his shoulder and head, fell down. Boom, boom, okay. One after another bursting arrows exploded among the demons, causing a large number of casualties to them. Although the bursting arrow had a very obvious effect, the gloomy face of King Jin Jing did not lighten in the slightest. Because he knew that this amount of damage was nothing to the demon army. Moreover, the number of enchanted arrows was limited. Once they were used up, the demons would attack the city in one go. Besides, King Jin Jing looked at the demon man standing on the top of the tree in the distance. The demon hadn't made a move yet. If he did, Jingcheng might not last long. We must do it as soon as possible, preemptively. Get rid of that demon. The Gold Essence King rose into the air and roared, "All sky mages, follow me." Immediately, more than a dozen elves in robes floated up above the city. Chapter 172 Purgatory Demon Dragon. 3/7. P.S. The third update, and the fourth update. Behind the city wall, thousands of elf mages formed a magic circle in a piece of open space, constantly throwing burst fireball spells towards the sky. Fireballs were thrown into the sky one after another, and landed outside the city wall in a perfect parabola, bursting apart among the densely packed demon soldiers. In an instant, several demon soldiers howled and were thrown away. However, the attack density is not high, and only a dozen explosive fireballs fly out at one time, which is far worse than the attack density of the Devil's Magma Ball. The third team, the fourth team, bypass the main gate and go to the north and south gates. At this time, Ul gave an order from the rear. At this time, the demons have two more attack directions, the north gate and the south gate. Once the demons divided their forces, their formation density became much sparser, and the dense arrows and fireballs in the sky also reduced their damage a lot. At this time, Dale saw the Golden King and the dozen or so elf sky mages flying from the elf city. Interesting, do you want me? The corners of Darth's mouth curled up. There was a look of disdain in his eyes. The human sky mage, as early as 607 million years ago, he did not know how many people he had killed. As soon as King Jin Jing and more than a dozen elf sky mages lifted off, dozens of magma balls flew towards them. King Jin Jing waved his hand, and a magic shield rose in front of him immediately. The same is true for the rest of the elf sky mages. The moment the shield was propped up, the burst magma ball hit over in an instant. Wow! The extremely hot magma ball hit the magic shield, and the magma burst instantly, and a large piece of liquid magma splashed down from the sky, causing some damage to some demon soldiers below. Don't do these useless things. I'll kill you. Jin Jing Wang opened his eyes violently, and shouted to walls over there. You want to come and kill me? It depends on whether you have the ability. Dolls tapped a leaf on the top of the tree with one foot, and his whole body began to float upwards. When he opened his mouth, he spoke pure Roryland common language. 1. King Jin Jing snorted coldly, mobilized all his magic power, and chanted softly in his mouth. Suddenly a gust of wind surged around him, blowing his long golden hair and dancing wildly. Wind magic. Darth raised his eyebrows and said, AJFF, it's really rare among humans to use wind magic. After all, most of them can only use the simplest fire magic. Gale wind killing blade, scatter. The invisible wind was swept by the magic power, forming a circle around King Jinjing. But those invisible winds were kneaded by strands of magic power, and gradually formed pieces of extremely thin and sharp wind blades. At least hundreds of wind blades surrounded King Jinjing. Call out! Countless wind blades galloped out in an instant, dancing wildly in the air. They cut the air and rushed directly towards Dales. Facing the attacking wind blade, Dales didn't care at all. He snorted suspiciously, and finally shouted, "Come out." The whole person spun around in the air, and his body suddenly swelled. Streams of terrifying magic flames ignited violently all over his body, and then spread like ripples in the surrounding air in circles. Immediately, invisible screams rang out, and more than a dozen mages appeared in the surrounding air, burning with magic flames, screaming and falling from the sky. Jin Jing Wang's eyes widened violently, and the wind blade hit Dales instantly. Dozens of small and dense wounds appeared on Dales' body, but they didn't play any role at all. Because at this time, Dales had already turned into a hideous and terrifying black dragon with a length of 80 meters and wings covering the sky and the sun. On the huge head of the demon head, there are huge horns leaning forward, and there are dense black bone spurs on the wings on both sides. The stout four-legged footsteps in the air, the huge wings beat up and down continuously, gusts of wind swept towards the ground, and the demon soldiers on the ground were blown in disarray. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Dozens of wind blades hit his body, just like scratching an itch, leaving only a series of not deep wounds. Not even blood came out. Purgatory Demon Dragon. King Jin Jing widened his eyes and said in horror. The Purgatory Demon Dragon was the ruler who ruled the mainland tens of thousands of years ago before humans had mastered magic. At that time, the Laurelland continent was ruled by dragons everywhere, and the Purgatory Demon Dragon was the most evil one among them. Later, the human ancestors mastered the power of magic, defeated the dragons, and dominated the mainland, and the Purgatory Dragons were also missing. It is said that it was slaughtered by human ancestors. The other dragons were tamed by human ancestors, and the Dragon Knight was born from this. King Jin Jing also knew this illusion, and had seen the portrait of the Purgatory Demon Dragon handed down from ancient times, but King Jing Jing never imagined that the demon he encountered today would be a Purgatory Demon Dragon. Could it be that the Purgatory Devil Dragons were not slaughtered by the human ancestors but were all migrated to the Devil's Land? King Jinjing was horrified and said in disbelief. That's right. At the beginning, my family was driven away by the human ancestor magician and went to another world, but I didn't expect that after tens of thousands of years, the magic of the Laurelland continent would decline so much. It's too weak, too weak. The glory of my family back then, I will reproduce it. Darth's thunderous voice resounded in the surrounding area, and he roared loudly. A roar instantly came out from his mouth, and clearly visible ripples spread in the air instantly. Damn it! King Jin Jing was terrified. Although he is a top sky mage level magician, he still has not reached the level of a star saint after all. Faced with the Purgatory Demon Dragon, a species that dominated the mainland tens of thousands of years ago, King Jin Jing was really not sure. Damn elf, don't worry, after you die, I will treat your city well, after all, it may be my fief in the future, ha 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 ha. The voice of the magic dragon was like thunder, and he laughed outrageously. Master Dales has revealed his real body. It's so mighty. The demon Yul let out roaring cheers in the demon camp. These damn elves are dead. Ha 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 ha. It's over. King Jin Jing's face turned pale. Just the terrifying dragon power emanating from the Purgatory Demon Dragon made him terrified and unable to move. Under such circumstances, how could he resist? Could it be that Jinjing City really can't escape this catastrophe today? King Jin Jing closed his eyes in despair. The magic power in his whole body was suppressed by the talent of the Purgatory Demon Dragon, and it was impossible to mobilize a single bit of magic power. Go to hell! The Purgatory Demon Dragon roared fiercely, its huge wings flapped instantly, its mouth was full of fangs, and it instantly devoured King Jin Jing. At this time, a sudden change occurred. Chapter 173 Lost Empire troops ran away. 4/7. P.S. Chapter 4, there are 3 more chapters. Tut chug chug chug. A huge sound came from the sky in an instant, and the Purgatory Demon Dragon instantly felt a sharp pain in his body. His huge dragon body turned in an instant, The pitch-black wings covered with black bone spurs flapped crazily, and the strong wind blew, causing the trees in the dense forest in the distance to dance wildly. The entire giant dragon swept back in an instant. What? The huge head of the purgatory dragon let out an extremely angry roar. Call out! A Bf-109 fighter jet passed in front of him in an instant, then turned directly and rose into the sky. Sudden. The machine guns blared, and the bullets instantly broke through layers of air and hit the back of the purgatory demon dragon. Countless black bone spurs, flesh and blood were hit by the bullets, and a piece of blood fell in the air. What is this? Enduring the severe pain, the purgatory demon dragon found two Bf-109 fighter planes flying in the sky, and he let out a loud roar. King Jinjing hurriedly took advantage of this opportunity and flew directly back to the city wall of Jinjing City. Above and below the city wall, countless elves and demons stared blankly at the sky, looking at the two strange big steel birds hovering and flying in the sky. That's the Ross Empire, a fighter jet of the Ross Empire. Angelzel saw the fighter jets in the sky not far away on the wall of the North Gate, and he shouted excitedly. It's from the Loss Empire. As a result, all the elves on the city wall began to cheer. Originally, the elves were almost desperate in the face of the gigantic purgatory dragon. The legendary species appeared in front of them, and they were also enemies, which made them not despair. These are the only two flying birds in the Ross Empire. After King Jinjing was overjoyed, he suddenly discovered a problem. There are only two flying birds. Judging from the size, they can't be the opponents of the purgatory demon dragon. King Jinjing was a little bit crazy, and his joyful heart suddenly fell into panic. The Bf-109 fighter jet has a length of 9.07 meters and a total length of 9.92 meters. A single-wing fighter developed by Germany in World War II has been in line with the design concept of later advanced fighters. The purgatory demon dragon, counting the tail, has a total length of 87 meters. The wingspan of the wings is close to 100 meters. Huge wings spread out to cover the sky. Looking up, the sun could not be seen at all under the cover of the huge wings. And the fighter jet flew past the purgatory demon dragon, as if flying over a bird. Judging by the size of the two sides, they are not at the same level at all. However, in the concept of people in the Laureland mainland, there has always been a concept that big is good, and big is strong. And today's purgatory demon dragon is undoubtedly in line with this concept. And the average flying dragon is only more than 10 meters long, so it is called a giant dragon. This purgatory dragon is close to 90 meters long, which can be regarded as extremely huge. In terms of body shape alone, the two are not at the same level at all. Call the airport, call the airport. Quote, Fighter number 1 found a black dragon, over. The pilot on the Bf-109G fighter jet glanced down at the huge dragon, and he picked up the walkie-talkie and pointed it at the airport. The Bf-109G fighter is an improved model of the Bf-109 fighter. It has a lighter body, a more advanced cooling machine, and a stronger endurance. Unlike the original Bf-109, which has poor endurance and short legs. It is equipped with two MG-131 heavy machine guns with a caliber of 13 mm. Although the bullets are powerful and the caliber is not small, it is enough to hit an ordinary flying dragon with a length of more than 10 meters, but the Purgatory Magic Dragon is 80 meters long. Such a big thing, although a heavy machine gun can hit a piece of it. A piece of flesh and blood, but for the Purgatory Demon Dragon, it is just a pain. The giant dragon is about 100 meters in length. The number 1 fighter and the number 2 fighter are equipped with insufficient weapons. We request to return. In addition, our coordinates are to request the support of the Katyusha Fire Force. Request received, return flight allowed. The two Bf-109G fighters made 2 laps in the sky, and then began to return the same way. How did they leave? 0. The Iron Bird of the Lost Empire can't beat this legendary dragon. Suddenly, countless elves were almost desperate again. King Jinjing kept looking at the fighter jets going away, and he punched a city wall with a punch. Hope appeared just now, but he fell into despair in an instant. It seems that Jinjing City cannot escape the fate of being destroyed today. King Jinjing thought, and 2 tears fell unconsciously. 5 kilometers away, 20 trucks equipped with Katyusha rocket launchers lined up. The officers of the Ross Empire Fire Support Force picked up the walkie-talkie and listened to the voices coming from inside. "We are short of firepower. We request firepower support. The coordinates are." The Purgatory Demon Dragon was flying outside the Golden Essence City, and he roared with great pride. In the end, he landed on the spot just now, and shouted at the King of Gold Essence on the city wall with great pride. "No one can save you, no one, ha 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 ha, your fate is to be destroyed by me. They are the Ross Empire. I thought the Ross Empire would be some kind of powerful opponent, but it turned out to be a bunch of useless people. They fled after launching some innocuous attacks on me. It's all a bunch of trash. Ha 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 ha." The gigantic laughter of the Purgatory Demon Dragon spread around, like thunder, shocking people. Hateful. On the city wall, countless elves beat their chests and stomped their feet, showing despair. The flying troops of the Ross Empire just left. Facing this legendary dragon, how should they resist? Everyone is ready. Aim at the target area, and the Mie calendar will be covered. Repeat again, firepower coverage, don't care about accuracy, aim all rockets at the target area and shoot them out. Officers of the Katyusha Fire Support Unit yelled at 20 Katyusha rocket launchers. The mounted rockets began to adjust their angles and raise their heights. Although Katyusha's accuracy is poor, it can only hit a similar area. But its firepower is enough to plow the entire area and cover it once. Chapter 174 The Terrifying Katyusha. 5/7. Ha 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 ha. Now, welcome your death. Poor elves. The Purgatory Demon Dragon's wings with a wingspan of 100 meters stretched out suddenly, and the giant wings flapped, setting off countless violent winds around it. There is a big shadow on the ground, making it impossible for people to see the sun. Laugh. The Purgatory Demon Dragon roared fiercely towards the sky, opening its bloody mouth wide open. The black-purple brilliance was instantly released from his mouth, spreading in all directions around him. Countless magic powers were accumulating in his mouth. Glory of Purgatory. King Jinjing's pupils shrank in an instant, and he stubbornly broke off the stones on the city wall, his palms showing no trace of blood due to the force. Its terrifying power continued to spread towards the surroundings. 670 seemed to be a purgatory dragon whose whole body was like the phoenix eyes of a tornado, constantly absorbing all the magic power around it, and soon formed a magic power waves swirl around his huge body. Purgatory Brilliance, one of the famous magics of the Purgatory Demon Dragon, can gather a huge amount of magic power in its mouth, compress it, and then release it in the form of a beam of light in an instant. The magic power that has been greatly compressed is released in an instant, and the destructive power produced by itself is extremely amazing. If Purgatory Radiance is really released in Jinjing City, it may directly penetrate the entire Jinjing City in an instant. This blow will directly blow you to ashes. A roar came from the Purgatory Dragon's throat, the sound was like thunder, and the air was like thunder. His huge body was suspended in the sky, and the black and purple magic power appeared around him, spinning and flying towards his mouth. The entire huge head was raised high, and endless black-purple brilliance continuously shone in his mouth. It's over, the Jinjing City, which has been passed down for thousands of years, is going to be cut off in my hands. Wow! With the appearance of Purgatory Glory, Jin Jingcheng completely lost the courage to resist, his face showed despair, and his heart was filled with endless sadness. Lost Empire. Suddenly, a startled voice came from a person next to him. Accompanied by his voice, a huge, earth-shattering bang appeared. Has the Purgatory Demon Dragon launched an attack? Our luck is at the end. I don't blame the Ross Empire, they didn't do anything wrong, and facing an incompetent enemy, they didn't do anything wrong. King Jin Jing stood on top of the wall and closed his eyes in despair. From what he heard, the loud noise just now should indicate that the Purgatory Demon Dragon has launched an attack. They are destroyed. Embrace death. Roar. The huge magic power in the Purgatory Dragon's mouth suddenly dissipated, and countless black-purple brilliance spread towards the surroundings, as if there was a rush of black-purple snow around. Shish. At this time, countless dense streamers suddenly fell from the sky. Like rain, it instantly covered an area around the Purgatory Demon Dragon. Boom boom boom. Countless huge explosions sounded in that area in an instant, and the flames produced by the explosions instantly killed in the air. Countless Katyusha rockets hit this side continuously. In such an instant, the Purgatory Demon Dragon and the 500 meters around him instantly turned into a sea of flames constantly rising and exploding. And those demon soldiers screamed like ants on the ground, running around. What kind of weapon is this? Ah! I can't hear, I can't hear. Where is the enemy, where is the enemy? The rockets not only covered the huge Purgatory Dragon, but also covered the surrounding demon troops. On Jinjing City, King Jinjing and countless elves stared wide-eyed, looking at the scene in front of them as if they were trapped in a fiery purgatory. Explosions, flames, seemed to be continuous. There are also constantly shining rockets falling from the sky, hitting the ground continuously and lifting a large piece of land. Roar! The Purgatory Magic Dragon was covered with terrifying wounds, and he suddenly let out a huge roar that was extremely painful and contained mourning. Then the huge body trembled uncontrollably, splashing blood downwards, and the wings that originally had a wingspan of more than 100 meters had become fragmented at this moment. What kind of attack is this, so dense? Is it a long-range magic formation composed of 10,000 magicians? No, I have to escape. If I stay any longer, I will die. The Purgatory Devil Dragon roared in pain, and at the same time, a wave of fear rose from the depths of his heart. With this level of attack, even if he has a huge body, he will die in it if he stays for a long time. He is not invincible, nor is he an immortal life. As long as he can die, there is fear. Under the blows of the seemingly endless Katyusha, the Purgatory Demon Dragon was terrified. The shattered wings flapped wildly, and the huge body floated up into the air. But he was just half a meter away from the ground when a Katyusha rocket fell from the sky instantly and hit his wing directly. The explosion flames from an incomparable distance rose from his wings, and the Purgatory Dragon howled fiercely, and its huge body fell to the ground instantly. On the other side, half of the broken wing fell to the ground, splashing a large amount of dragon blood. Then, his entire dragon was covered by artillery fire. The huge body was shattered, hideous and terrifying. The dragon head with two horns leaning forward flew out, and then bounced heavily on the ground twice like a ball, splashing out blood 1.4 like a pool of water. This. King Jinjing stood on the top of the city wall in shock, and together with the other elves, looked at the bottom of the city wall in dumbfounded, the incomparably huge head of the Purgatory Demon Dragon that was thrown here by the explosion. Is this terrifying intensive attack really something that humans can possess? The head of the Purgatory Demon Dragon that was powerful enough to destroy the entire Golden Essence City just now is placed under the Golden Essence City, and the Rus Empire that caused these attacks has never appeared again. How many terrifying weapons does the Rus Empire possess? King Jinjing stared blankly at the Purgatory Devil Dragon who could be suppressed by the dragon's power alone, and he didn't dare to resist at all, but at this moment, only the head was left. The huge gap in his heart made him dumbfounded. Chapter 175 Rescue. 6/7. Katyusha's extremely terrifying firepower lasted for a while, and then stopped. After the incomparably shocking intensive bombing stopped, all the elves in Jinjing City were dumbfounded. They looked at the messy land below the city. There was black smoke everywhere, and uneven black holes appeared on the ground, and the devil's 30,000 troops, although there were many lucky ones that were not affected by Katyusha at this moment. But they were also staring blankly at the place where the firepower was extremely dense, with fear on their faces. What kind of weapon is this? Lord Dales is dead. No, it's impossible, Lord Darth. Countless demons shouted in horror. The wind blew away the clouds, the gunpowder smoke cleared, and everyone could clearly see that huge, tattered black dragon corpse on the ground. There was not a single intact part of his body. His head was in a different place, and the huge dragon head 09 flew to Jinjing City. The demons trembled, waiting to look at the huge corpse of the Purgatory Dragon with horrified eyes. The demon dragon of Purgatory, which was invincible before, is now decapitated. Even the huge body was spread all over the ground like blood and flesh. Although one Katyusha rocket launcher cannot cause fatal damage to the Purgatory Demon Dragon, there are more than 100 Katyusha rockets fired by the Katyusha fire support troops of the Rus Empire. Go and grab the body of Lord Darth back. Suddenly, a demon burst out with a shrill roar. The other demons woke up like a dream, one by one scrambling to collect the huge corpse of the purgatory dragon. They seem to spare every piece of flesh and blood. Hurry up. Some people are vigilant, and some people snatch the corpse. Darth survived by luck, but he also had a broken arm, half of his body was black. He waved his only remaining arm, commanding, roaring. Commander. In the dense forest not far away, a half-orc girl was wearing a magic power supply device on her left and right waists. Her petite body was equipped with a 2-meter-long heavy anti-tank gun, aiming at the 2-meter-long heavy anti-tank gun. Quick, quick. Das was still yelling and commanding under the city wall. At this time, the golden spirit Wang Meng on the city wall reacted sharply, and he yelled, "Shoot me arrows. Shoot them to death." Countless elves woke up like a dream, and immediately drew their bows and set their arrows. At this moment, boom! A huge explosion came from the dense forest, and a huge 20mm bullet came out of the chamber instantly and came through the air. In an instant, Darth's entire upper body was instantly shattered by bullets. The half-burnt body fell to the ground, the upward part of the chest was smashed, the whole person fell to the ground, and the flesh and blood spread all over the floor. It directly splashed a bull-headed demon head and face. The bull-headed demon was stunned for an instant. "There are enemies." A shrill cry came from his throat in an instant. Buzz! Buzz! The engines of the armored vehicles roared, and they sprang out of the dense forest in an instant. Chug chug chug! The 14.5mm dual-mounted high-level and dual-purpose machine guns mounted on the top of the armored vehicle kept roaring under the control of a Ross Empire soldier wearing a black military uniform. Bullets pierced the air and shot at the remaining demons. What kind of monster is this? They are too powerful, let's withdraw. Rows of demons were instantly swept down by the terrifying firepower of the machine gun, and the rest of the demons screamed in terror and fled backwards. But they couldn't be faster than the bullets. Countless demons who wanted to escape were directly torn from the back by the bullets, and fell to the ground to die. Soon, the remaining demons were wiped out under the machine gun fire from the speeding armored vehicles. An armored vehicle stopped at the gate of Jinjing City. The door opens. A pair of shiny black military boots stepped on the scorched ground. A tall and straight officer got out of the car. The red dragon emblem on the black military cap with large brims exudes a strange luster under the sunlight. There are several silver eagle medals on the well-fitting black military uniform. The shiny black sebum armed belt was tightly tied around the waist, and a black leather belt spanned diagonally from the right shoulder to the left waist. The pistol was in the gun pouch at his waist. Jerry tightened his black tie around the collar, and his white shirt was spotless. He walked to the head of the huge purgatory demon dragon lying quietly under Jinjing City, stretched out his feet and lifted the dragon head. "Master, everything has been cleaned up." At this time, another officer came to Jerry's side. Jerry, the first batch of soldiers of the Ross Empire, has now achieved the position of division commander. He was also at the same time as Tom, who now works in the Ministry of Defense of the Ross Empire. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Jerry nodded, looked up, and saw the group of elves on the city wall. The elves were stunned, and after a while, 630 rushed to open the city gate under the order of King Jinjing. The troops of the Ross Empire entered the Golden Essence City. "The troops of the Ross Empire are here." Angel Zell was very excited walking cloth in the reception hall. The cyan military uniform on his body is very similar to the military uniform of the Ross Empire Army, which was originally made by imitating the military uniform of the Ross Empire. And beside Angelzel, there were several officers of the new army of elves. They also wore blue military uniforms, long leather boots, white armed belts, and big brimmed hats. For them, the army of the Ross Empire is like an idol. King Jinjing is sitting at the top, can't you tell? But it is a fact that the troops of the Ross Empire saved the entire Golden Essence City today. Crack clap clap. At this time, a burst of footsteps came over. Jerry, dressed in a dignified and handsome black military uniform, walked in, followed by several adjutants. "Honorable King of the Golden Elves, His Majesty the Supreme Emperor, let me bring you my sincere greetings." Jerry bowed slightly to King Jinjing, and said, "King Jinjing is Gu Yuan's in-laws anyway," and out of loyalty and respect for Gu Yuan, Jerry saluted King Jinjing spontaneously. Chapter 176 Logging into the Devil's Land. 7/7. Your Majesty, my concubine Angelina misses you and your wife very much, and concubine Angelina hopes that you can live in the Ross Empire. Jerry saluted gracefully and said to King Jinjing, "Go to the Lost Empire." King Jinjing was silent. On the other hand, Angel Zell and other young elf new army officers were so excited that they almost jumped up. The Ross Empire is a country that countless people on the mainland yearn for. My lord, you also know that the demons in the central region are rampant now, and it is too dangerous for you to stay here. Jerry persuaded. Although the Empire's troops are constantly coming to the central region, they are fighting on two fronts after all. The Sea Army has entered the Devil's Land to attack the Devil. On the huge battlefield of the central region, maybe when a magic with the power of a forbidden spell was thrown over, and we ourselves are also in danger, so please you and your people to live in the Ross Empire, where it is very safe. Hearing Jerry's words, King Jinjing widened his eyes and said in surprise, the Ross Empire is fighting on two fronts. An army has already defeated the Devil's Land. This news undoubtedly shocked all the elves in the hall. They knew that the Ross Empire was very strong, but they never imagined that when the Central Magic Empire retreated in Lost Land, the Ross Empire over there had already defeated the Demon Land. This is so shocking. Okay, I agree. Finally, after a long time of thinking, the King of Gold Jing remembered the Purgatory Demon Dragon that appeared today. If it wasn't for the troops of the Ross Empire, then their entire clan would either die or become slaves to the demons. Finally, Jin Jingwang agreed. Okay, please simply pack your bags and don't need to bring anything else. After arriving in the Ross Empire, His Majesty will allocate funds to build a brand new city for you. After all, the Ross Empire has everything, and it is many times better than the outside world. There was a gleam of light in Jerry's eyes under the big brimmed hat, and the corners of his mouth twitched triumphantly. As a soldier of the Ross Empire, he is naturally extremely proud of his motherland. Although the elves in Jinjing City have less than 2 million people, they have allocated funds to build a new city and are equipping daily necessities for more than 2 million people. For Gu Yuan, this is for the Ross Empire, which now gathers the wealth of the entire continent. It doesn't matter at all. To be rich is to be willful. Therefore, after humans and half-orcs, the Ross Empire is about to usher in the third settled race, the elves. Ross Empire Sea Area. Huge demonic portal. In the huge black portal, on the surface of the sea, there are countless ships of the Ross Empire coming and going. 10 newly launched battleships guard the demon portal. The other 20 battleships have already crossed the Devil's Sea and arrived on the Devil's Land. Accompanied by the 20 battleships, there are also troop carriers looking at them. The Devil's native land, the border of the Lin tribe. The sky is filled with dark clouds of smoke, and there is no vertex of sunlight that can shine through the dark clouds. These clouds of smoke linger for tens of thousands of years. The ground is hard and cracked, and the air smells of sulfur everywhere. Quick, quick, get off the boat. One after another, troop carriers docked. A 10-orc soldier of the Wali Kingdom, wearing heavy armor and holding 98k, got off the ship. Hold on, hurry up. Countless Loth soldiers shouted around, carrying AKMs on their backs. Hey, come on, my lord, this is the high-quality tobacco I bought in Los Angeles. It can effectively relieve other odors and has an incomparable fragrance. An officer of the Wari Kingdom, wearing a khaki military uniform and a coat of armor, held a pack of cigarettes in his hand, and approached a tall and straight Ross officer in a black army uniform with a smile. Yo, this is a good smoke. The officer smiled and took out one, and the Wali officer immediately took out a lighter and lit it for him. Taking a deep breath, the cigarette made of special potion has a faint fragrance, and the officer feels relaxed. The smell of sulfur in the nostrils also instantly faded away. This stuff is nice. A Loth officer and a Wali officer soon chatted with each other, laughing. This time, the Ross Empire went to the Devil's Land, mobilizing 500,000 troops from the 7 orc kingdoms. All are equipped with 98k new troops, while the local army of the Ross Empire has mobilized 2 armies, 6 divisions with a total of about 108,000 people. Adding up to 600,000 troops, they have all rushed to the Devil's Land at this moment. Bah, the air smells really bad. It's true that you said that the military department has a newly developed gas mask, but they didn't equip us with one. A soldier of the Ross Empire frowned and complained. Now the logistical pressure is also great. We, together with the forces of the 7 kingdoms of the orcs, have a total of more than 600,000 people who have landed on the Devil's Land. They are all transported by troop carriers. The logistical pressure is not small. A soldier next to him laughed, and he said, "Hey, that kid Jess is in the logistics department. When we met a few days ago he even complained to me, he's tired like a dog every day." This group of soldiers was not far away, in a temporary tent. Carlo Lin was standing inside, wearing a black army uniform, which greatly set off her hot figure. Wearing a women's military cap on her head, her military rank is marked on her shoulders, a lieutenant general. Frowning on her beautiful face, she looked at the masked woman with long purple hair who exuded charm all the time in her tent. "What are you doing here?" Carlo Lin felt a little helpless. "I also don't know, I always feel, come, there will be some puzzles to solve." Tian Luan's soft and boneless body was placed on Carlo Lin's body, and a strand of Carlo Lin's red hair was wrapped around her slender fingertips to play with. Said in a very coquettish tone. Chapter 177 The Queen's Strange Feeling. 1/7. "What puzzles do you have here?" Carlo Lin waved her hands in disgust, and pushed Tian Luan who was lying on her body away. "It's really ruthless." Tian Luan got up, but approached Carlo Lin again, and whispered in her ear, "You have Yuan's smell." Well, Carlo Lin, who had always maintained a dignified face with a cold face, blushed instantly. Her body trembled, and she pushed Tianluan out of the tent. "Blind, what are you talking about?" After pushing Tianluan out of the tent, Carlo Lin immediately turned her back and muttered softly. Her cheeks were reddish, and she didn't look like the usual female general at all. The huge army of 600,000 is divided into a dozen parts and is resting in the coastal area of the Devil's homeland. Far away. These humans, I didn't expect them to be so powerful. They landed directly on the mainland. Lost Empire, who would have thought that an unknown human country would be so powerful? I have never heard of them before. 2 demon pilots in the sky hovered in the sky riding a huge bat-like ghost beast. 413. Hurry up and report to the Empress, these people from the Ross Empire have landed. You continue to monitor here, and I will report to the female DTN. Clear. The 2 demon bat riders were talking, but one turned around and flew away, leaving only one demon bat rider watching in the sky. Lin Tribe, Queen Sif's royal city. The main city of the Lin people, Queen City, is a mountain city built directly into the volcano. On the huge crater, there are countless huge stone roads that intersect and cross, and on those huge stone roads, buildings are arranged on both sides, as if forming a natural guardrail of the stone road, and the empty fields are used as streets. Because of the special structure, the building stone road also has layers. The stone path at the bottom is next to the magma ocean below. There are not many buildings here, but most of them are very strange, cultivating some special things that require a lot of heat. And the stone path at the top is the coolest. The palace of Empress Sif is located on a huge stone path in the middle. Your Majesty, the Ross Empire has already landed on the mainland, and the closest one is our Lind clan. Next to it is the territory of the Stet clan, the half-scale royal family of the Hart clan. And we have received news that the people of the Tilan tribe have opened the passage to the central region of the Roraland continent, and they have been attacking for a long time. Even, the 3rd demon emperor of the Middle Demon Kingdom also went to the central region in person. According to the performance of the Ross Empire in naval battles, Your Majesty, I think we are unlikely to be the opponents of the Ross Empire army. Do you want us to go to Tilan clan? Let us go to the central territory of Roraland continent together. Several staff members were talking in front of Sif, which seemed to be arguing. I don't think so. We are just trying to avoid it now, but have you ever thought about it? The Ross Empire must be located on the Roraland continent. Another Devil's Aide immediately retorted, I'm afraid we will be like sheep at the mouth of a tiger by then. Why? What are you arguing about, you cowards? You only want to escape. Where is your courage? Where is your pride? At this time, a demon general roared at them. Rukai Palace, at this moment Buddha has become a vegetable market. Your Majesty, what do you think? At this time, one of the devil's staff asked Sif, who had been sitting on the throne, obviously not caring. I have nothing to say. You're staff, but you can't come up with a solution at this moment. Then what's the use of me supporting you? Sif glanced at them indifferently, her white, tender and clean right hand kept clenching a fist in front of her, turning her palms and backs to look at them. Immediately, no one else spoke. Your Majesty, calm down. A devil dared to say something. Who said I was angry? Sif glanced at him, and said lightly, I don't know why, as the Ross Empire army is getting closer, a strange feeling is becoming more and more obvious in my heart. Strange feeling. All the demons looked at each other in blank dismay, not understanding what Sif meant. Yes, a strange feeling, this kind of feeling, I have never felt it for thousands of years, and I don't know why. It seems that the touch of softness that connects the portal of another world to the mainland of Roarland appeared. It's very strange. In the past, there were quite a few other world portals connected to the mainland of Roarland, but I have never felt this way. This time, what's wrong? Sif put down her hand and looked up. The dome of the pitch-black hall seemed so empty and dark. As the Ross Empire army got closer, Sif obviously felt that something was getting closer to her. As one of the earliest beings born on the world demon tree, Ziguan didn't think she had relatives in this world. The ethnic groups born on the world magic tree have always been celibate existences. Love, reproduction, and union with the opposite S**x to reproduce are all things that happened later. The earliest demon born is also the most powerful. Sif is only the king of the Lin tribe, but she may call herself the Empress. A large part of the reason is that she was born under the world demon tree. Thinking of the world demon tree, Sif felt sad for a while. Today's world demon tree has been completely covered and polluted by evil spirits 9,000 years ago. Once any race that approaches it inhales the evil spirits, it will lose its mind and attack anyone indiscriminately. What's even more frightening is that the evil spirits from unknown sources have continued to expand during these 10,000 years. Compared with the previous Devil Land, today's Devil Land is 2/3 less. Even the Middle Demon country began to be polluted, forcing the third Devil Emperor to go to the central region of the Laurelland continent himself. Tianluan was walking casually in the barracks, and suddenly she, who was wearing a gold-patterned faceless mask, looked up at an unknown distance, and she suddenly felt that there seemed to be something calling her. And this kind of call is the kind that is very slight and will be ignored if you are not careful. It will not affect people's mind, as long as you calm down, it will be cleared. But Tianluan could feel it, that calling was longing. 0. Chapter 178. It's better to surrender. 2/7. Then what do you say? A demon staff member yelled fiercely to the companion next to him. We can't beat us, and we can't escape, so what can we do? HMPH, since we can't fight or escape, then let's just surrender. A demon general fights with his arms folded across his chest, with a sneer on his scaly face. Surrender. Yeah, we've never considered that, but putting it this way, it seems like a viable path forward. The demon staff were taken aback for a moment, and they began to seriously think about this matter. He froze for a moment, and looked at the demonic staff in shock and anger. He just said that casually, with a strong sense of irony. But what he didn't expect was that those demon staff actually started to think about this matter. Demon staff is a special kind of demon among the Lin tribe. Their way of thinking, code of conduct, and purpose of doing things are all for the normal survival of the Lin people. The appearance of our Lin tribe is very similar to that of humans. Although our legs are different from humans and we have horns on our heads, everything else is very similar. If we surrender, the Ross Empire may not be able to accept us. After the Ross Empire is gone, we can continue to live in this land safely. A demon staff member stroked his chin, thinking about this matter seriously. I think it's okay, there is nothing shameful about temporary surrender, everything is for the survival of the Lin tribe. Seconded. All the devil staff members raised their hands to vote, and there were several devil generals present. Those devil generals looked left and right, but they were all silent. Take it as abstention. As for the demon general who was mocking at the beginning, Larry's face instantly became ugly. He said to the demon staff with a cold face, "It is impossible for me to surrender, unless I die. My father, Prince Brad, died at the hands of those humans in the Ross Empire. No, apart from the family of Prince Brad, we did not suffer much casualties in the battle against the Ross Empire. Only the entire fleet of Longtail was wiped out, with thousands of casualties, and the fleet led by Prince Brad had more than half surrendered to the Ross Empire. We only need to know how the half of the tribe who surrendered lived in the Ross Empire itself. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. If they hadn't been abused and were alive, then it's perfectly possible for us to surrender. A demon staff member said at this time. Well, we can send envoys to contact the Ross Empire to see their attitude. After all, compared with other races, our Lind race is not unforgivable to the humans on the Laurelland continent. The other demon staff members nodded together. Seconded. I think it's fine. The next step is to ask the Empress about the feasibility of this matter. A group of demon staff ignored Brelee's opinion and looked directly at Sif. Sif sat in the first seat. She casually glanced at the demon staff, and said, I have no objection, let's send envoys to contact the Ross Empire. Now it can be said that she is full of that strange feeling, and she has no interest in external things at all. Surrender to the Ross Empire. If this can save the Lind people, then surrender. Sif didn't think it was a humiliating thing. Quote. Brelee was stunned on the spot. He didn't expect that the proposal of surrender would be accepted by Sif. He stared, his purple eyes covered with bloodshot eyes. A pair of fists were tightly clenched, traces of blue and red blood oozing from the palms. I will never surrender. He roared, turned and left abruptly. Quote. The other demon staff were stunned and looked at Sif. Let him go. Sif waved her hand, meaning to ignore Brelee. 0. That night, Brelee left the Lind tribe directly with his own troops and a group of demon generals who were unwilling to surrender, and went to the border of the Heart tribe. His eyes were full of hatred, and he gritted his teeth against the Ross Empire. Just wait, human beings, and you cowardly fellows, it is impossible for me to surrender. The Lind tribe doesn't want to resist, so I'll go to the Heart tribe. If the Heart tribe can't do it, then I can go to the Sturt tribe. I can always find a tribe that intends to fight against the Ross Empire. Brelee left the Lind clan with an army of nearly 200,000 demons. 0. These armies are almost half of the troops of the Lind tribe. But Sif didn't say anything about it. Her meaning is very clear, anyone who doesn't want to stay can go. Ever since Sif felt that strange feeling in her heart, she seemed to be indifferent to everything. But Sif's authority is still there. After Brelee left with his troops and some demon nobles who were unwilling to surrender, some of the remaining people chose to obey Sif's orders. The next day, a demon knight riding a bat ghost approached a resident of the Lost Empire. Who? This is a place where the troops of the War-E Kingdom are stationed. I am the envoy of the Lind tribe, and I have come here with the will of our Majesty to seek peace. He yelled loudly in the sky. Although it is decided to surrender, it cannot be said to the outside world as surrender, but to summation. Peace. Those Wally soldiers holding 98K in their hands looked at each other in blank dismay. An Earth Orc officer reacted immediately, and he shouted loudly, hurry up and send someone to General Carlo Lin. You come down first and wait for the people from the Empire to come. An Earth Orc officer shouted into the sky. The demon bat rider landed quickly, and raised his hands to show that he was not hostile. Chapter 179 Danger Everywhere. 3/7. You speak Laurelland Common. More than a dozen Earth Orc soldiers wearing armor and holding 98K surrounded them, and an officer asked strangely. It seems that in his impression, all demons will always roar words they don't understand, ferocious and ferocious. Meeting. The demon batrider nodded. But he didn't dare to let go of his hands. He had heard it from the part of Prince Brad's fleet that had escaped. The warships of the Ross Empire possessed a strange weapon that could strike thousands of meters away, and the individual firepower was extremely terrifying, and the flying bat troops were almost wiped out. All the flying bat troops who have fled back are full of fear of the weapons of the Lost Empire. The flying troops have always been proud of. 160. The demon bat rider has never seen those people so afraid, as if the Ross Empire has become their lifelong nightmare. This can't help but remind the demon batrider. The rumor spread from the soldiers of the Stet tribe who escaped from the battlefield by chance. The so-called Ross Empire is the real demon empire. This also made the demon bat rider subconsciously afraid of the strange weapons held by the Earth orcs. Although I don't know what the 98K in their hands is, but I can be sure that it is very dangerous. Just wait here, people from the Empire will come looking for you in a while. The Earth orc officer ordered several soldiers to guard him, and he went to do other things first. And the demon bat rider stood obediently, not daring to move. People from the Empire. Aren't you the Ross Empire? Hearing this sentence, the demon bat rider said in confusion. How come, we also want to be the people of the Ross Empire, but unfortunately we are only the people of the dependent country. An Earth orc soldier shook his head, speaking with some hope in his tone. They are the Wally Kingdom, dreaming of all joining the Ross Empire. Although their lives are getting better and better under the leadership of the Ross Empire, they are not from the Ross Empire's own country after all. Subordinate countries. The Bat Demon Knight looked at the weapons they held in their hands, which gave him a great sense of danger, and the giant steel beasts that were placed everywhere in the camp. Although I don't know what it is for, but such a huge steel monster truck will definitely crush everyone on the battlefield. A troop with such weapons is actually a troop of a vassal state of the Ross Empire. God, he felt terrible just thinking about it, and these people were not even the troops of the Ross Empire. How powerful is the Naros Empire, to be able to equip the troops of the dependent countries with such war weapons? This demonic Batrider is a person who can't hide his words. He asked hesitantly, those huge steel monsters must be very terrifying weapons of war. The Bat Demon Knight felt that after the peace, they were no longer hostile people, so it was okay to ask. Oh, those trucks are not war weapons, they are just vehicles used to carry supplies and weapons. An Earth orc soldier replied casually. They all felt that the existence of the truck was very normal, and they didn't feel that it was nothing, but the demon Batrider's eyes widened. The iron and steel creations of sheep are not used for war. They are only used to transport luggage. In the mind of the devil Batrider, things like trucks are driven onto the battlefield in a large scale, and a torrent of steel will crush them. But now those Earth orcs actually told him that this is not a weapon of war at all, and it will not be used on the battlefield. This horrified the demon Batrider. Then, what should the real war weapons of the Ross Empire look like? The demon Batrider shuddered. At the same time, the strength of the Ross Empire in his heart has risen to another level. There is an order, let him go to the county camp in the headquarters of the Empire. There are dedicated diplomats meeting with him. At this time, the Earth orc officer walked out of the tent, he said. When he was sent to the headquarters of the Ross Empire, the demon Batrider saw all kinds of things that he had never seen in his life. Thick, huge, and full of oppressive steel tiger tanks are continuously driven out of the transport ships. A Luo soldier wearing a black army uniform and wearing a helmet and hand-platooned AKM patrolled back and forth. Katyusha rockets parked in an open space. A huge silver-white battleship that is 190 meters long and twice as long as the Purgatory Demon Dragon is docked on the coast. The huge naval gun above made the demon Batrider feel cold all over. He was born able to sense the existence of danger, because of this he has survived many times from the battlefield, and his strength is not weak, although he is only a flying Batrider, but his strength is close to the prince level. But today, in the barracks of the Ross Empire, he felt a certain danger everywhere. Before meeting the negotiator of the Ross Empire, he was drenched all over. It seemed that there were countless, extremely dangerous sharp edges pressing on his back, making him feel like his back was about to freeze. What surprised him the most was that there was more than one such huge and daunting warship. Instead, they are all over the coast. Because of their huge bodies, one of them blocked the other, making it hard for people to see. In the end, the Bat Devil Cavalry 5.8 dazzled and even came to a wrong conclusion. There may be hundreds of such huge warships. In fact, there are only about 20. In the end, the Devil Batrider met the negotiator wobbly, and then he was not so proud. He was always proud and confident in front of the negotiator of the Ross Empire, but suddenly he became very unconfident when speaking, as if he had been inferior for a long time. Autistic children in general. He was still dizzy until he got out of the Ross Empire barracks and got on his flying mount, the ghost-faced bat. After flying in the air for a while, he suddenly woke up. It's over, why did I agree to let the Empress come over and negotiate in person? It's over, it's over, it's over. On the way back, he covered his head in great annoyance. Chapter 180. It's exactly the same, 4/7. You mean, the people of the Lost Empire asked me to interview them? Sif looked at the demon bat rider kneeling below, and she smiled softly. Yes, it is. Demon Batrider shuddered, he said. Your Majesty, if you don't want to, you can refuse them. A demon staff next to him said to Sif. No, why not? Sif just smiled. In fact, after her troops from the Ross Empire arrived on the mainland coast, she always wanted to visit. I also eagerly hope to know what the source of that strange feeling is. In this case, I will go to the Ross Empire to talk to them in person. See what they want to talk to me about. Sif stood up, her black armor couldn't hide her perfect figure at all. A pair of long legs wrapped in iron armor started to move, and the O9 demon staff behind him immediately followed Sif out. Outside the Lost Empire camp. A temporary camp. This is where the two sides negotiate. There was no good place for negotiation, so we simply set up a table in the open air. Carlo Lin was wearing a black army uniform, and the two golden general stars on her shoulders shone brightly under the surrounding lights. The Devil's Land is slightly dark even in the daytime because the sun can't shine at all. Light is needed everywhere. Behind Carlo Lin stood a group of tall and straight officers wearing the black army uniforms of the Ross Empire. Next to him is the king of the Wali Kingdom, Vom, who is most trusted by the Ross Empire. Tianluan also stood quietly beside him. For some reason, the longing call for her in her heart today disappeared. Although Tianluan was puzzled, he quickly put it behind him. She is the only star saint level here in the Ross Empire, and she is still needed to hold the line at such a close negotiation. If something goes wrong, she can solve it. At this time, a line of dark and luxurious trains suddenly drove in the sky. The train is carried by a huge bat ghost, and there are two bat ghosts pulling the cart in the front. There are nearly 100 demon bat riders around to escort. These demon bat riders are equivalent to the existence of the personal guard of Empress Sif. Each strength should not be underestimated. Are these people from the Lost Empire? Except for those Earth orcs, they seem to be ordinary humans. Empress Sif wears pitch black armor, with a hideous mask on her beautiful face. She stepped out of the train and stood on the back of the bat brute. Looking down. With this glance, he was instantly locked on Saint Tianluan. Star Saint. She felt a sudden tremor in her heart. The next moment she felt strange. How could she have such a reaction? She just saw a Star Saint. 10,000 years ago, when she entered the Laurelland continent with dozens of ethnic groups, was it rare? 10,000 years ago, she was born, and she was also the last batch born from the World Magic Tree. They entered the Laurelland continent together with dozens of ethnic groups, and grew up amidst life and death. The Star Saint has also seen a lot. What I saw the most was the suicide-like attack of forbidden spells by the Star Saints. That kind of terrifying attack can destroy a gate to another world every time, and destroy countless demon troops along the way. Even many demon kings died directly under the forbidden spell of the Star Saint. For those Star Saints who dare to abandon the cultivation base and life gained through thousands of years of cultivation, and carry out suicide forbidden curse attacks in order to preserve the race, even as enemies, Sif also maintains respect. So, get ready to start negotiating. What do you want? Sif fell directly from the sky and tapped the ground with her toes. She quietly looked at Carlo Lin in front of her. Hundreds of bat demon knights in the surrounding sky also jumped off their mounts and landed behind Sif, standing ready to fight. Is this the Empress of the Lin clan? Although she is wearing a mask, she seems to be a very beautiful person from her figure. Carlo Lin thought to herself. The condition of the door is very simple. Hand over everything in the clan, methods, things, or people that can be used in the door. Quote. Putting aside the thoughts in her head, Carlo Lin put her hands on the table and said straight to the point. As soon as these words were said, the demon bat riders behind Sif immediately became a little commotion. How possible? Asking them to hand over the eggs of the space gate that they have cultivated for an unknown number of years is simply killing them. But Sif was here, none of them dared to speak without authorization, they could only look at Sif quietly. Sif was silent for a moment, she didn't know what she was thinking. Everyone present was waiting for Sif's answer. Sif suddenly laughed out loud, and said, "Okay, you have raised conditions, and I also have a condition to raise." "What conditions?" Carlo Lin's expression remained unchanged, and she looked at Sif without showing any weakness. "The condition is very simple, that is, let her take off the mask." Sif suddenly pointed to Tian Luan next to Carlo Lin and said. "What?" Carlo Lin was stunned, and everyone was stunned. "Is it such a simple condition? Before you ask others to take off your mask, take off your own mask first." Tian Luan said suddenly at this time. What was surprising was that she didn't use the usual strange phrases. She didn't know why it seemed that in front of this Lind Empress, her innate, never-ending charms seemed to have been pressed the pause button. "Good." Without saying a word, Sif immediately took off the ghost mask on her face. A suffocatingly beautiful face was directly revealed. Everyone present felt their hearts tremble. And Tian Luan's face hidden under the mask showed a shocked expression. This Lind Empress, Sif, looks exactly like her. Thank you for watching. Continue exploring the fascinating world of Chinese novels with us. Hit that subscribe button on Chinese Novel Audio Wave to stay updated with our latest stories. And never miss out on a great listen.